What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Paul back with episode 5 of Ball Talk with Paul. And of course, we got a whole lot of heat for you guys today. We're going to be talking some NFL action, some college football, and we're moving on to the NBA, then also the WNBA, and then we got to talk about some MLB today as well. So let's get right into it. Of course, starting with the NFL, we're going to be talking week 1, who was my biggest winners and my biggest losers. And then also for week 2, my predictions that you need to hear. Then for college football action, we're going to be talking about week 3's biggest matchups, in my opinion. Matchups like Georgia, Notre Dame, and Miami. Talk and see who's going to win and who's going to lose. Then moving on to that hardwood, we're going to be talking NBA Hall of Fame inductees such as Dwight Howard and Sylvia Fowles. And then also, we're going to be moving on to the Kawhi Leonard Scandal. Him and Steve Ballmer have something going on under the table? We shall find out. And also, we're going to talk WNBA Playoffs. The matchups are set, and we're going to talk about it. Lastly, we're going to be talking MLB action. We got Mr. Juan Soto making history, and also Mr. Anthony Rizzo has hung his hat up. He has retired. So we got a little bit of everything for you guys tonight, so let's get right into it. So for week 1 action, first I want to talk about those Green Bay Packers against the Detroit Lions. Man, those Packers look like they really took a step up this year. With the addition of Micah Parsons, and now Jordan Love is entering his 5th year in the NFL. They're looking like they're ready to take that next step, man. And they handled the Lions very handily with a 27-13 victory over them at their house. Mr. Jordan Love was 16 for 22 with 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs was also effective. Looks like the workhorse he is with 19 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. Keeps his touchdown streak alive. Man, the Green Bay Packers, they're loaded with talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Not only Micah Parsons, you have Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker. They have young and hungry corners such as Nixon. So they look like they're ready to take over the NFC North spot. So just continue for them to take the dominant lead and continue to win ball games. Now, the losers, on the other hand, the Lions, they definitely look like they have a lot of work to do. And as I said before, losing both of their coordinators, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, is really going to hurt them in the long run because the guys just have to buy into the new systems. And it looks like they haven't really figured that out yet. Mir Gibbs wasn't really effective in this game. He only ran for about 19 yards, and then he caught 10 passes, but only had 31 receiving yards, which is not great. Jared Goff looked like he was kind of uncomfortable, looked like he was still figuring out where he wanted to go with the ball. He only had 225 yards, but he threw the ball 39 times, and he completed 31 passes, so not too terrible, but it just didn't get the job done. The Lions, they have to figure this out quickly because, as you can see, the Packers are definitely looking legit this year. So hopefully they will right that ship in week 2. All right, so moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win over the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this one I had the Falcons winning, but I was wrong, unfortunately. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they looked nitty and gritty and pulled out that win. Now, it wasn't always pretty. Baker Mayfield definitely looked inconsistent at times. He only threw for about 167 yards on 32 passing attempts and 3 touchdowns, but they got the job done. And now their rookie, Emeka Egbuka, he looked very solid. He had 4 catches for 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. And as a rookie, you can't ask for much more than that, man. That's what you call immediate impact. And I think that's what they drafted him for, knowing that Chris Godwin wasn't going to be there and Mike Evans is getting older. Bucky Irvin, he also had a receiving touchdown for about 8 yards. So the Bucs, they started off slow, but that defense kept them in that game, and then they just found their niche at the right time. So that will always win you the ball game. Now, for the losers, on the other hand, the Atlanta Falcons, I was very disappointed in their performance. I thought they would be a lot more crisp on offense. And for the fact they only gave Bijan Robinson, who I think will be the Offensive Player of the Year, they only gave him 12 carries. That's not a great sign. You have to give your prolific backs more than just 12 carries. That's not going to cut it. Although he did have 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, you don't really want him to take those receiver yards. You want your receivers to get active, such as Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Aaron Mooney, all the guys to get included. So I don't know why they had Michael Penix throwing the ball for 42 times. He almost threw for 300 yards, but only had one touchdown. So you got to get more effective in the pass game and figure that out, because the Atlanta Falcons, they have all the talent they need, but they are still young and still learning. So hopefully they will right the ship by the end of the season, because I still think they will give the Tampa Bay Bucks a run for their money for the NFC South. Moving on to the Indianapolis Colts big time win over the Miami Dolphins. This win for the Colts shocked pretty much everybody in the league. Nobody expected the Colts to look this great, especially not to even punt on your first game of the season. That's very, very impressive. Daniel Jones looked very good in Shane Steichen's offense, man. They tailor-made the offense for him, which I think is all he needed. And he has a prolific back in Jonathan Taylor in the backfield who helps him out. And he has some decent pieces around him. Daniel Jones finished the game 22 for 29 for 272 yards and a touchdown. Mr. Jonathan Taylor had 18 carries for 71 yards, which is pretty good. And then his number one receiver, Michael Pittman Jr., looked like he was ready to make a comeback this year with 6 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. And also they got their young rookie involved, Tyler Warren. He had 7 catches for 76 yards. So that's what you want, man. You want all your guys to be productive and get the offense going. And also their defense looked pretty spectacular as well, holding the Dolphins' speedy offense to only 8 points. That's not easy to do for a lot of teams. So you got to give them credit when it's due. So look out for those Colts, man. They might make some noise in the AFC South this year. Now for those stinky Dolphins, man, they look pathetic. Can't even lie. And if Mike McDaniels and Tua turn the ball over, as what I like to call them, is not on the hot seat, I don't know who should be, because they have not looked great the last couple of seasons, because the league has caught up to that speedy, quick, get the ball out of your hands offense, and that's just not going to work. And they don't really have the size or the talent that they need to really run that scheme anymore. Tua is not a quarterback that can make off-cue throws. If his first read is not there, it's not going to look good, as what the coach showed you, and that's what they did. Tua only completed 14 of 23 passes for 1 touchdown, had 2 interceptions, which is, of course, not great. Then they couldn't get the running game going. Devon A-Chain, he's a good back, but he only had 7 carries for 55 yards. And then you can't even get your best wide receiver the ball. Tyreek Hill only had 4 catches for 40 yards. So the Dolphins have to figure this out, and figure this out quick, because if the seat was already not hot enough for Mike McDaniels, it is burning, scalding hot. So hopefully the Dolphins can turn this thing around and at least be competitive, but I don't think so, because I think the culture is just not fitting anymore in Miami. All right, moving on to these primetime matchups. We had the Los Angeles Chargers battling those Kansas City Chiefs in Brazil last Friday, and this was definitely a showdown. Justin Herbert showed that he is ready to take this next step, and we'll see if he can continue, because he definitely looked great in week 1 against those Chiefs, man. He had 118 yards on 25, 34 attempts and 3 touchdowns. And you can't really ask for much more of your quarterback, man. Looks like he was very comfortable with his wide receivers, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and Quentin Johnston. They all had a decent game. Quentin Johnston led with 5 catches for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen also had 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. And Ladd McConkey had 6 catches for 74 yards. So that's what you want, man. You want your offense to be well-rounded. And then they also had the running game going a little bit. Now, they do have a rookie in Marion Hampton. He only had 48 yards, but I'm sure as the season gets going, they will definitely find him more touches and get him going some more. So watch out for those Chargers, man. They definitely took me by surprise. Now, they did get a little help with injuries and things like that, but you have to have the next man up. So look out for those Los Angeles Chargers to make some noise in the AFC West. Now, those losers for the Kansas City Chiefs, I had them winning, but some things went bad for them early on, like Xavier Worthy getting hurt. And that really messed them up, because, losing your number 1 receiver on top of already not having Rashee Rice, it's going to throw some things off in your offense. And I think the Chargers were well prepared for all their offense, and they just didn't have it. And Mahomes, he played a decent game, was 24 for 39, 258 passing yards and a touchdown. He was running the ball a little bit too, had over 50 yards, but they really didn't have much else help. couldn't get the run game going. Pacheco looked like he's still getting back from that leg injury. Hollywood Brown had a decent game, 10 catches for 99 yards. Juju had about 55 yards, so not too bad, but that wasn't enough to beat the Chargers. So they have to figure some things out because I don't know how long Xavier Worthy is going to be hurt. We already know Rasheed Rice is suspended for 6 games, so they better get it together soon because we already know they have to play those Philadelphia Eagles this up-and-coming Sunday, and it's not going to be easy for them. So we shall see what Kansas City holds. Speaking of Eagles, you know we got to talk about that Thursday night primetime matchup between those Dallas Cowgirls and the Philadelphia Eagles. My Eagles took the victory home 24-20. It was an ugly, ugly game, especially from the start. As we all know, Mr. Jalen Carter spat on Mr. Dak Prescott. Now, I don't condone anybody spitting on anybody, but my man got provoked. And if you know Jalen Carter, he's not going for any type of disrespect. And he just felt the need to do that in that moment, which cost him a game, unfortunately, and about 60 racks. But I'm sure he will learn from this experience and only come back better and stronger. Now let's talk about my offense. Mr. Jalen Hurts, he definitely was a one-man show this game because the Dallas Cowboys, they definitely schemed up great for my offense, man. Jalen Hurts was 19 for 23, only 152 yards, but we're not worried about that, right? Because we got the win, and he didn't turn the ball over. And he had a QBR of 90.7, which was a lot higher than most quarterbacks. Mr. Saquon didn't do much. He only had 60 yards, but he had a touchdown on 18 carries. And Jalen Hurts led us actually 62 yards rushing. So Jalen was definitely doing it all, man. Unfortunately, he couldn't get his receivers going. A.J. Brown only had 1 target and then 1 catch for 8 yards. And Schmitty only had about 2 catches. But we shall get them involved more because, you know, we have to establish the run and keep our pace going. Just know next week it's going to be an A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith show against those Kansas City Chiefs for sure. Now, for those Dallas Cowgirls, I can't lie. They didn't look too bad offensively. Dak Prescott definitely looked like he is back to his normal self. Also, CD was having a good game until after the lightning delay. Then he just forgot how to catch. Had about 3 to 4 drops, and especially in crunch time moments. And I can't even lie. If he would have caught those balls, I'm not sure how the game would have gone, but I'm glad he did. And also, they didn't really get George Pickens involved as I thought they would. He only had 3 catches for 30 yards. Hopefully, they will figure that out because they will be a much better offense with him. Javonte Williams had a nice game. I think he established himself as the number 1 back. And Jalen Carter being out definitely helped him with that, having 15 carries for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. And shout out to Miles Sanders, man, for fumbling that ball and giving us the momentum back. Because if he didn't fumble that ball, man, I don't know what would have happened that game. But the Dallas Cowboys look like they definitely be competitive in the NFC this year. But they still not messing with my bird. So we'll see them again, and we'll see them with Jalen Carter. So for this last primetime matchup, we had those Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. And man, was this definitely a primetime matchup of the century for sure. Those Buffalo Bills were down 15 in the 4th quarter with only 5 minutes remaining, and they battled all the way back and won 41-40. Man, all I can say is Josh Allen definitely showed why he is the reigning MVP. Had 33 completions with 4 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Not to mention, he did it on the ground as well, running for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. That guy is definitely Buffalo's core, man, because he is just the engine that makes them go. James Cook also contributed with 44 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. But that young boy, Keon Colby, he looks like he's definitely ready to take that next step as Buffalo's number 1 receiver, man. He had 8 catches for 112 yards and a crucial touchdown that helped Buffalo come back in that victory. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for him because I do like Keon Coleman. I think he is raw potential. They definitely have some things to work on defensively because they cannot give up 40 points and expect Josh Allen to go Superman every time. But I think Buffalo Bills will definitely be right back where they always are, deep in the postseason in the AFC Championship, facing Patty Mahomes. I don't know if they'll do it again, but we shall see. But with this win, they are definitely setting a good tone for the season. Now, for those Baltimore Ravens, man, this is a big disappointing loss for sure. Now, while they did pretty much everything they could to win this game, they just didn't do enough. Lamar Jackson was only 14 of 19 for 209 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. Not terrible numbers, but just not enough, Lamar. You got to do more to elevate your team to win in crucial moments. You could have got a couple more first downs. You couldn't have gotten some longer drives, things of that nature. It's just a part of the game. And Derrick Henry, man, he definitely tried to carry the team on his back for sure. He had 169 yards on 2 touchdowns himself. But also, Mr. Henry had a crucial fumble late in the game that helped Buffalo gain that momentum to come back as well. And you cannot do that. We rarely see him do that, but it happens sometimes. And also, their young receiver, Zay Flowers, he looked great as well. He had over 143 yards and 1 touchdown himself on 7 catches. But again, still not enough. And Baltimore, they have to find a way to win these close and crunch time games because it always seems like when things get tight, they just fold. And not to mention, their defense has all this great talent on it. You got Kyle Hamilton, Jair Alexander, Marlon Humphreys, Roquan Smith, but they always fold. And again, this is one of my key points of why Jalen Hurts is so great because no matter who's on defense, he still finds ways to win. So Lamar has to do this same thing. He has to find a way to win, especially with all this all-pro, Pro Bowl level talent around you. So, of course, I'm not writing off the Baltimore Ravens, but this is a key example why people do not take them serious. So hopefully they will learn from this mistake and get this ship right. But if not, I think John Harbaugh will definitely be on the hot seat because it has been over 10 years now since he's even sniffed the Super Bowl. So I don't know if it's time for a culture change in Baltimore, but it may be if things do not get right and get right soon. So moving on to the week 2 predictions. Now this recording is after the Thursday night game, but I had the Green Bay Packers over the Washington Commanders, and which they did in a great fashion. They were a dominant team last night. They pretty much stopped the Commanders in every aspect of what they tried to do. Passing, running. They didn't give them much. The final score was 27-18. Now, Mr. Jordan Love was 19 for 31, 292 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs still looking like that power back. Here he is, 23 rushing attempts and 84 yards and a touchdown. Mr. Tucker Kraft, the tight end for the Green Bay Packers, looked very great with 6 catches, 124 yards, and 1 TD. Shout out to Kraft, man, because he's on my fantasy team, man. I needed that. The Packers, they have to find out who's going to be their wide receiver 1 because you cannot have your tight end carrying you throughout the season and expect you to go many places. Now, the defense, on the other hand, looked great, containing Jaden Daniels to only about 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns on 42 attempts, which is not that great, and he only completed 24. And then their rushing game was pretty non-existent. Everybody only had 17 yards between Eckler, Krosky Merritt, and Jaden Daniels. So the Packers contained them pretty well, man. And that defense is going to be very, very interesting to see what they look like in December because Michael Parsons is just getting acclimated to his new teammates. So we shall see. But the Commanders, they better right this ship fast because they do not have any weapons for Jaden Daniels besides Terry McLaurin, really. He's still getting acclimated because he missed a lot of time due to contract issues. Deebo Samuels is not a wide receiver that can kill you over the top, across the middle of the field, in the deep post routes. He's only going to catch slants and crossing routes and screens. So nobody's not too worried about that. And then if you don't have a running game, you're definitely not worried about that. So the Commanders have a lot of things to fix, especially if they want to get back to the NFC Championship. I told people that teams will be keying in more on Jaden Daniels now, especially that they have a whole year of film on him. They know his tendencies better. They know what he likes to do. So we shall see if they can make those adjustments, but I'm not such a believer. And this game pretty much made me a believer in what I was preaching. So another matchup that I want to talk about for week 2 is we have those Cincinnati Bengals at home battling those Jacksonville Jaguars. And I might get some heat for this take, but I think those Jacksonville Jaguars has what it takes to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals barely skated by the Cleveland Browns last week, And that was pretty much only because the Browns kicker forgot how to kick, I guess, because he missed 2 or 3 field goals, which was crucial because they only lost by 2 points. So Cincinnati has to figure out who they are and what they want to be, because you cannot have Jamar Chase only getting 2 catches for 42 yards and your quote unquote top 3 quarterback Joe Burrow only had 119 passing yards. It's just not going to happen. So if the Bengals want to prove people wrong, they have to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I don't think they will, because the Jags, they look pretty sound, man. They held the Carolina Panthers to a minimum effort last week. They look like they have a clear mindset on offense of what they want to do. They like to pass the ball and pass out the backfield, which I think suits Trevor Lawrence better. So we shall see what they do, but I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning. I think this will be a pretty high-scoring matchup. I'd say it'll go 28-21 at Jacksonville, taking it home. Now, moving to the NFC East matchup, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants. Now, this matchup is going to be interesting. Both of these teams started off 0-1 and looking to bounce back, but I think Dallas Cowboys will handle business. Dak Prescott usually owns the Giants because it's just the Giants. Everybody beats up on the Giants. And I think with the sour taste in the mouth from last week, they're just going to be extra motivated, especially CeeDee Lamb. He said it himself. He wants the opportunity to catch those balls again. So I think it's going to be a high scoring matchup just for the Cowboys. I don't know about the Giants. The Giants offense hasn't really shown much. Russell Wilson is looking like a shell of himself. Malik Neighbors was frustrated last week. So hopefully they can at least make it competitive. But I have those Cowboys winning in a solid debut of 35-14 over the Giants. Now we have a big matchup, a rematch of the Super Bowl contestants of last year. We have those Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles. My Eagles are going to Kansas City to see if we can beat up on Patrick Mahomes one more time. Now, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes are 2-2 against each other. So this is definitely going to be interesting to see who's going to break this tie. Myself, I believe both of these quarterbacks are the juggernauts of the league because they are the epitome of what everybody's trying to accomplish, man. Both of these quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl, been to multiple Super Bowls, been an all-pro. So it's just a matter of time before we figure out who is the best of the best. And I think my guy is better than Mahomes just because of what he's gone through and what he's had to overcome. But we will see if he can prove that on Sunday. But I'm taking my Eagles, and it's going to be a close one. But we have Jalen Carter coming back. He didn't get suspended, thank God, because we definitely need him. And the Chiefs, they kind of are banged up. Xavier Worthy, I don't know if he's going to play or not yet, but we shall see. Rasheed Rice, he's not there. So they're going to be relying on Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster and Travis Kelce primarily just to get themselves going. I don't know if that's going to be enough to help them. So I got my Eagles winning this matchup. It's going to be a low-scoring affair, I'm sure, because both teams are really getting acclimated to the season again. So I think it's going to be a 17-10 win for my Eagles. We're going to win by a touchdown in Kansas City and come back home with a victory. Now, next matchup that should be interesting is going to be those New Orleans Saints versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Oh, the 49ers should win this easily, right? No, not so fast. I think the Saints have a good opportunity to win this ball game. For one, the 49ers will be missing George Kittle. He got hurt last week and got placed on IR. And then Brock Purdy, their starting quarterback, is also hurt. He will be missing 2 to 5 weeks. So the 49ers will be looking a lot different. I also believe Juwan Jennings is banged up as well, one of the receivers. So it's going to be an interesting matchup because New Orleans, they didn't lose anybody last week. They're all healthy. Spencer Rattler, he did look promising at times, and he almost had him a win if his wide receiver, Juwan Johnson, would have caught the ball in the touchdown. They could have easily won that game last week. And the Saints defense is always competitive. So I think they could take the 49ers because they just have nothing to lose right now. So look out for those New Orleans Saints to win over the San Francisco 49ers. So for the last week 2 prediction I want to give you guys, we have those New England Patriots facing those Miami Dolphins in the AFC East showdown. My pick for this game is I have the New England Patriots winning. And because they had some tough breaks last week against those Las Vegas Raiders, a lot of people underestimated Geno Smith. But I think the Patriots will bounce back this week because the Dolphins, they just don't look like a team that knows who they are right now. They don't know if they like to run the ball, throw the ball. They don't trust their quarterback. They don't trust their defense. So I think the Patriots should come into Miami with a solid plan, especially on the Mike Vrabel, because I know what kind of coach he is, and I know he's trying to establish the culture back like the Belichick days. So I know that they will figure out a way to win in Miami. They just have to withstand that heat and humidity. All right, so let's talk some college football action. We got week 3 matchups. First matchup I got to talk about is, of course, my Miami Hurricanes going against the University of Southern Florida Bulls, man. This is going to be an interesting matchup because a lot of people didn't have the Bulls on their radar this year, man, but they have snuck up to be the 17th team in the nation right now. So they are coming in with some confidence, but I think my Hurricanes, we just have too much for them, man. Carson Beck, he's leading us this year. He has about 472 passing yards. Then we got Mr. Mark Fletcher Jr. with 152 on the year. And then that young bull, Malachi Tony, he's just a gadget that we love to use. He's leading us at 162 receiving yards right now. So I think we should beat them in a fashionable manner because we want to establish that we are definitely a top 5 team. So we shall see. But those Bulls are nothing to sleep on. They do have a nice quarterback in Byron Brown. Pretty much the whole offense for the Bulls, man. He's leading them with 473 passing yards and also leading the team in rushing with 109 right now. So as long as my Hurricanes can contain him, which I'm sure Ruben Bain and the gang will do, we should be fine, man. I got us winning probably in a fashionable reason with a 38-21 victory over the Bulls. Next matchup I want to talk about is the Clemson Tigers versus the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Now, this is going to be an interesting one as well. Georgia Tech is 2-0 and Clemson is 1-1. So, not typical territory for the Clemson Tigers, but I think they will bounce back and win in Georgia Tech because I think Cade Klubnik is hungry for another big win and he's ready to prove that he is one of the prolific quarterbacks in the nation, and he shall prove that. I don't know if Mr. Antonio Williams will be back for Clemson, but I'm sure Wesco Jr. and their running back Randall, they will figure out a way to get themselves going. They just have to establish the speed that they want to go at. And for Georgia Tech, they do have some decent weapons. They have Haynes at running back. He's leading the team at 157 rushing yards. And then their quarterback, Mr. Philo, he's okay. He I think he took over for Mr. King. I don't know if he got hurt, but we shall see what Georgia Tech does. Now, they are a sneaky team, but I do think Clemson shall win this one. I think it'll be a close ball game. I'll say about a 28-24 victory. The Clemson Tigers taking this home. Now, we have a big SEC matchup going on this weekend as well. We have those Georgia Bulldogs taking on those Tennessee Volunteers, man. And I think it's going to be definitely an interesting matchup. But I got the Georgia Bulldogs taking this one because Georgia, we all know they have a championship mindset and a championship core and championship coach and Kirby Smart. So I think they would just lean on those guys and lean on the depth that they have, led by Mr. Gunnar Stockton at the quarterback position. I think they're just ready to keep establishing themselves as one of the most dominant teams in the SEC. Now, Tennessee, they do have a good roster as well. Mr. Joey Aguilar is their QB. But I don't know if they're ready to beat a team like Georgia just yet. They haven't really shown me enough defensively that they can beat Georgia, who is a defensive-minded team. So I got those Bulldogs winning, man. I think the score probably to this game will be a pretty low one. I got them winning 21-14, but it's going to be a Georgia Bulldog win. We have another primetime SEC matchup that we have to talk about. We have those LSU Tigers facing the Florida Gators. Now, LSU is ranked number 3 in the nation right now, and I think they will just establish why they are in this matchup because I don't think Florida has enough to contend with LSU at the moment. Now, Florida does have a nice quarterback in DJ Lagway. This guy is prolific. He can run, he can throw, and he's still young. I think he's only around 18 or 19, and he's leading the way for the Gators with 342 passing yards right now. But I don't like his supporting cast too much. His offensive line is not the best. He doesn't really have any dominant receivers or running backs. So I think it's going to be a good matchup for LSU because Garrett Newsomer, he's a quarterback that can sling it all over the field. They have the weapons for him, and their defense looks like they took a next step up this year because I was wrong against them 2 weeks ago picking Clemson over them. So I'm taking LSU in this matchup. I think they should win this one in a good fashion as well. I think they'll win 30-21. Now, this last matchup is definitely going to be an exciting one to see. We have the number 8 Notre Dame Fighting Irish against the number 16 Texas A&M Aggies, man. This will definitely be a showdown of mobile quarterbacks because both quarterbacks know how to use their legs effectively. Our Texas A&M quarterback, Marcel Reed, he is a dynamic dual threat quarterback. He is leading the way right now for Texas A&M with 509 passing yards and also 105 rushing yards. So he can do it all. So we can see that Texas A&M would definitely have to have a plan for Notre Dame's offense as well because Notre Dame's offense, of course, has Jeremiah Love and CJ Carr as their quarterback. So we shall see what this game holds. Now, I think Notre Dame will bounce back because they're looking to get that sour taste out of their mouth from my Miami Hurricane. So I think this will be a low-scoring affair, but it will be a great matchup to see. I think this game will go to about 21-17 with Notre Dame Fighting Irish coming out on top. Now let's talk some NBA. We're going to talk about the NBA Hall of Fame inductees that just recently went in this last week. First, we got to start with Mr. Dwight Howard, aka Superman. Now, Dwight was definitely a dominant big man in his time, especially in his early years with the Orlando Magic. Dwight Howard was an 8-time All-Star, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. For his career, he had 19,000 points, 14,000 rebounds, and over 2,000 blocks. Just a dominant big man. If you needed a bucket, you were throwing the lob to Dwight. If you needed a stop on defense, you knew not to drive in the paint because Dwight was going to block that for you. So I'm glad Dwight is getting his flowers because he definitely deserves it. He was also a good factor in that last Lakers championship with LeBron. So he definitely deserves all his flowers. And not to mention, he beat LeBron in the East as well when he was with the Magic to get to the finals that he lost. But it's okay because he definitely deserves his flowers. And I would say Dwight is a top 5 big man of the league. I'm glad Dwight Howard got his flowers because he definitely deserved them. Next inductee we have to talk about is Mr. Carmelo Anthony, man, a.k.a. Stay Mello. Now, if you know me, I'm not really a huge Melo fan. I didn't really like his game, and I didn't really like how he went about the game. But he is a well-respected figure in the game of basketball, and we have to give him his flowers because Melo was definitely a bucket, man, scoring over 28,000 points in his career, 9th all-time on the list, 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA, just one of the best scorers of this generation, and also a multi-time Olympic gold medalist. So you got to give Melo his flowers. Even though he didn't win the NBA Finals, he is definitely deserving of being in the Hall of Fame. Now, I wish he would have done more in the postseason to, elevate his legacy, but he did enough in the game. And now he has his son, Kyan Anthony, who is looking to take the torch from him. Shout out to Melo for doing this thing and getting into the Hall of Fame where he deserves. Now, moving on to the ladies, we had a couple ladies get inducted as well. First lady I want to talk is Sue Bird, one of the most dynamic, prolific PGs the WNBA has ever seen. She was a WNBA champion 4 times, 12-time All-Star, and she's the WNBA all-time assist leader. So Sue Bird definitely deserves her flowers as well. She lasted in the league a very long time, and she helped pave the way for the WNBA what it is today. So she definitely deserves her flowers as well. Next lady I want to talk about is the lady GOAT in my eyes, Miss Maya Moore. Former Minnesota Lynx, 4-time WNBA champion, 1-time MVP, 6-time All-Star, multi-time NCAA champion, high school champion. Maya Moore is just a champion of champions, man. And she was a certified baller. That's why she retired early, because she's done so much in the game of basketball that she didn't even have to play anymore. She quit during her prime and to focus on her family, which I commend her for because she's done enough. 12 rings over a lifetime is something that not too many people can say. Maya Moore, she's definitely in my eyes a pioneer of women's basketball, probably the greatest women's basketball player to ever play. I'm so happy she's getting her flowers as well. And then she recently got her number retired as well. So shout out to Maya Moore, man. One of the best WNBA players to do it ever. Lastly, when we have Miss Sylvia Fowles, she's a two-time WNBA champion, two-time Finals MVP, and a two-time Defensive Player of the Year. Sylvia was a dominant force in the paint. She could block shots. She could score on you. She does everything you need for a dominant big woman in the W. And I'm glad she's also getting her flowers because a lot of people don't pay attention to the big girls in the WNBA. They always want to see the flash, the skill, all that stuff. But the big women in the WNBA, they need their flowers too, man, because without them, there's nothing that could be done. So shout out to Sylvia Fowles holding down the paint and getting her flowers for the Hall of Fame. Now, lastly, for the inductees, we had two guys that got inducted while still being active, which is just unheard of, and we have to give them flowers as well. We have Mr. Chris Paul and Mr. LeBron James. Chris Paul being an 11-time All-Star, third all-time in assists, and LeBron James, all-time leading scorer, four-time champ, four-time MVP, four-time Finals MVP, and the list goes on for him. These guys, they didn't get inducted for being bomb players that they are. They got inducted for being a part of the 2008 Redeem team. Of course, they deserve their flowers for that as well because that team brought the USA back to a place where we thought we weren't going to be for a while because USA basketball was just on a decline. But I'm glad these guys got their flowers because they definitely deserve them. Chris Paul is probably my all-time favorite point guard. And if you don't know, LeBron James, as you see behind me, is my GOAT of all time. So I'm so happy that they got this. I think this will probably be their last year in the NBA. If not for LeBron, definitely 2 more years. But Chris Paul, for sure, this is his last year. So I'm glad these guys can get to enjoy their flowers because, we all know Kobe didn't get to enjoy his, man. I hate that because, he definitely should have seen himself getting to the Hall of Fame, man. So shout out to LeBron James and Chris Paul, man, being the only two active NBA players to ever get inducted into the Hall of Fame, man. Salute to you guys. Now, this last topic, we got to talk about how Kawhi Leonard is under investigation for getting extra money from his owner for the Clippers, Steve Ballmer, for his side venture company, Aspiration. Now, this is a touchy subject because I know that NBA players deserve the money they get, but this extra money on the side, the NBA wants to control that. So if you wanted to pay the man extra money, you should have done it the right way and not try to funnel him money under the table. Now, I'm sure this has happened in many other franchises. I know for sure that this happened one time in 1999 with the Timberwolves and Joe Smith. They were looking at him for some under the table money, but that doesn't excuse anybody because what's done in the dark always comes to the light. Now, I want Kawhi to get his money because he's definitely a deserving player, but just do it the right way. So we don't have to have these scandals and have people looking at you funny because now we all going to be looking at Kawhi and the Clippers organization like, are you really moving right? So hopefully the NBA can nip these kind of issues in the bud. I don't know how they will be able to control the issue going forward. I guess they'll have to look at more bank statements and, look at more documents, but they'll figure this type of stuff out. But I think this will probably get swept on the rug in another couple of weeks, and we'll just forget about it. We'll probably hear a ruling on it that they couldn't find conclusive evidence of the actual money going to Kawhi. So it's just a learning experience for everybody, and hopefully we won't have any more of these issues coming up in the future. All right, moving on to the WNBA. So we got to talk about the playoff matchups. The playoffs are here, starting on September 14th. First matchup I want to talk about is those Las Vegas Valkyries versus the Minnesota Lynx. Now, my prediction for this series is I have the Lynx winning this one, man. Napheesa Collier, she's just too much of a bucket for the Valkyries to handle. And I'm not sure if they have anybody to even stop her in any fashion. And then, not to mention Napheesa, they also have a good backcourt with Courtney Williams as well. So I believe the Minnesota Lynx will win this one. They probably will sweep these girls 2-0. So the next matchup I want to talk about, the Atlanta Dream versus the Indiana Fever. Now, this is going to be an interesting matchup. Would be definitely better if Caitlin Clark was playing, but she is shut down for the rest of the season. I think it's going to be a good one, though. I have the Atlanta Dream winning it 2-1, though, because I think they just have too much. They have Alicia Gray. She's a bucket. Then they also have Brianna Jones. She's a beast on those boards. But we shall see. I mean, the Indiana and the Fever, they do have some talent as well. Kelsey Mitchell and the Lee of Boston, they still are some players to deal with. So it's going to be a battle, but I have the Atlanta Dream winning 2-1. Next matchup I want to talk about is the New York Liberty versus the Phoenix Mercury. Definitely going to be a dog-fighting matchup because both of these teams have a lot of firepower on both sides of the ball. The New York Liberty, they have Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionesco, and Jonquel Jones. And then the Phoenix Mercury have Alyssa Thomas, Tu Sabali. So it's going to be an interesting matchup to see. But I think the New York Liberty will take this one home because they have been there before and they just know what to do to get them over the hump. I think their big three will lead them to victory in a good fashion. So it's going to be a close series, but I have them winning 2-1. So the last matchup that we have to talk about is the Las Vegas Aces versus the Seattle Storm. For this matchup, I have to take those Las Vegas Aces, man, because they have just been there. Asia Wilson, the MVP, she just knows what to do to elevate her team in the right moments. And with her supporting cast, Jackie Young, they will be just fine against the Seattle Storm. Now, Seattle Storm, they do have some decent talent with Enike Ogwumake. She's a bucket as well, but I just think she doesn't have enough help to beat those Aces. So look for those Aces to win in a fashionable manner. I have them sweeping the Storm 2-0. All right, guys, so let's move on to the MLB. Finally get to talk some baseball. So if you don't know, I'm a New York Yankee fan. So this topic is kind of personal for me because I wish we still had this guy. Mr. Juan Soto just got a 30-30 season. If you don't know what that is 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases. That is what you call a game changer in the diamond. This guy can do anything you need for your team whenever he's called upon. He can get you the outs in the outfield. He can hit the ball whenever you need a hit or a run scored. He can do it all and steal bases. That's what he does. And I hate to see him on the Mets now because my Yankees had him last year. He helped us get to that World Series, but we just couldn't get over the hump, unfortunately, because other guys just couldn't step it up. It's unfortunate that he's across the bridge now at the Met Stadium because he's just still balling, and that's a guy that you gotta have on your franchise. His career stats right now is a .287 batting average. He's hit over 192 home runs, 620 RBIs. Man, he's just a baller. And Juan Soto, he's definitely going to take his team to wherever he wants them to go because he's just that type of player. So shout out to Juan Soto for getting a 30-30 season this year. And he still has 16 games left. So he might get that 40-40. So we shall see. Stay tuned. And lastly, we have to talk about one of my favorite players growing up, hanging his cleats up for good, Mr. Anthony Rizzo. One of the best to do it. He definitely was a clutch player. He always got a hit or a home run whenever you need it. In the infield, he was just a snagger. He can get any kind of balls that came his way out the ground, fly ball, whatever you need. And that's what you want. And his time with the Yankees, he was definitely one of my favorites for sure. He also played with the Cubs. He helped them get a World Series in 2016, something that they haven't done in years and years. He definitely deserves his flowers, man. With a career batting average of .263, he had 309 home runs, 146 RBIs, 4 Golden Gloves, a 3-time All-Star. You can't get too much of a better resume than that. And I hope one day he'll be in the Hall of Fame because he definitely deserves it. So shout out to Anthony Rizzo, giving us plenty of great memories and good moments on that diamond. All right, guys, so that's a wrap for episode 5 of Ball Talk with Paul. We talked the week 1 biggest winners and losers, some week 2 predictions, got the week 3 college football predictions, then we talked some NBA Hall of Fame and some scandals, WNBA Playoffs. Then we talked Juan Soto with his 30-30 season and Mr. Anthony Rizzo's legacy. So let me know who you think is the biggest winner of the week 1 matchups. And was letting go of Juan Soto one of the worst mistakes in Yankees history? And then does Georgia take care of Tennessee? Let me know in the comments, man. But please make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode of Ball Talk with Paul. And remember, I'm your host, Paul, and we out.